Let us all rise for the 1 minute of silent prayers for the fallen soldiers, friends and foes alike, who perished on the beaches of Leyte during the liberation campaign. Thank you very much. You may now take your seats as we await the arrival of our guest of honor. The presence of the Congressman of the 1st District of Leyte, Congressman Ferdinand Martin Romualdez. And with him is Congressman Jude Asidre of the Tingog Party List. Sa akin pag-utos. Tikos. Oh! Kalipunan. Tikas. Pahinga.
Okay, so right now mga kaibigan, inantay na lang natin na dahil in a few minutes from now, RD so may arrival of guest of honor din. Ha? So tapos pagkatapos ng pagdating ng ating guest of honor, yan yung arrival honors din ng iba pa nating mga VIPs. Then ayan.
The flag raising ceremony and then the wreath laying ceremony.
Oh, so yan yung umpisa na. Kaya advice namin sa ating mga viewers dyan, keep on sharing the live para naman magkaroon kayo ng malaking ambag din ng ating history dahil 80th Leyte Gulf Landings Commemoration ngayon mga kaibigan dito sa province of Leyte. Dito sa napakagandang park natin. So ito yung tinatawag na MacArthur Landing Memorial National Park. So kasama ko ngayon mga kaibigan, specialist ating mga bagong open dyan o bagong nag-open na kanilang social media. Kasama ko ngayon yung ating magiting na RD, Regional Director ng Philippine Information Agency, si Director Rian Arinto.
Alright, so everybody's preparing na for the next part of the program, especially an ating flag raising ceremony. Akala ko kanina nagpambansang awit, ito is part of the production pala.
Yeah, so yan yung Samliaw. Samliaw dance. Samliaw dance, ano yan? Dance group. Samliaw Performing Arts of Eastern Visayas State University. So yan yung proper na identification nila, Samliaw Performing Arts of Eastern Visayas State University. So ngayon, inantay na lang natin yung ating pagdating ng ating guest of honor. Pero nakita natin kanina doon sa stage, RD Rian, no? Yung ating Speaker of the House kasama natin.
Congressman Ferdinand Martin Romualdez and si Tingog Party List Representative Jude Asidre.
Yan. So,
salamat kita nga nakiduyog gihapon ining activity for this year's celebration of the 80th Leyte Gulf Landings.
So magkaroon lang kami ng konting i-share din sa inyo na napakaganda ng weather ng panahon dito sa park mga kaibigan. So may oras pa kayo, especially sa malapit lang dito sa MacArthur Landing Memorial National Park, may oras pa kayo na talagang makapagpunta dito dahil yung program proper mga kaibigan in a few minutes from now. So pagdating ng ating guest of honor, so ayun, naka-formation na yung ating mga men in uniform or ating mga soldiers. Dahil nakita nyo napakaganda, napakalaki ng ating Philippine flag. Ready na yung ating mga taga-PNP para mag-raise ng ating Philippine flag. Tapos kanina, so bigyan lang namin kayo ng idea, especially sa mga bagong bukas ng kanilang Facebook or YouTube. So nagkaroon tayo ng tribute ng ating mga veterans. Tapos nagkaroon din ng marching kanina.
Kanina nag-present ito ang pag-tribute was Veteran Jose Hakla. Veterano pala yan, Regional President, Veterans Federation of the Philippines, Region 8. Yan, Dr. Joel Joseph Cadides, and Regional Vice President, Sons and Daughters Association, or
SDAI.
SDAI.
Sons and Daughters Association Incorporated or SDAI. Tapos, syempre, magandang performance din ng Samliaw Performing Arts of Eastern Visayas State University. So ngayon mga kaibigan, ayan, so on screen, yung atang sina Governor Ikot Pitilia, papunta ng natong, syempre, para kung sa waray-waray patapuon na yung ating guest of honor, parating na. Yung ating guest of honor sa ating activity this day mga kaibigan, no other than yung ating Secretary of Department of National Defense, si Secretary Honorable Gilberto C. Teodoro Jr.
Si Bibo Teodoro pala ang ating guest of honor.
Ayan, sa mga kaibigan, on screen, and then yung ating idol Governor Ikot Pitilia, Province of Leyte. Katabi din niya si Speaker of the House, Martin Romualdez, si Congressman Martin Romualdez. Tapos yung iba din nating na mga invited or VIPs din. So, inantay na lang niyang pagdating ng ating guest of honor. So again, malaki pang oras mga kaibigan na pwede nyo i-share yung ating live para naman na yung ating mga Gen Z dyan, especially sa inyo, para well-informed kayo kung ano ba talaga yung ibig sabihin ng Leyte Gulf Landings.
So gani ka ining mahinungdanon actually ang tanan nga tawo dinhi Leyte, Pilipinas, and even the whole world again. Gini-emphasize naton ang importansya ng liberation at that time.
Yan yung World War II, kaya meron tayong mga World War II veterans mga kaibigan. Tapos kanina, kung pwede naman nang i-review yung ating live. So nagkaroon ng parade or yung ating mga veterans, living veterans. Tapos yung mga sons and daughters din nila. Well represented din. May mga from Samar, mga iba't ibang
As far as
posts.
Katarman, ay so kanina Katarman.
Oh, layo kayo ng Katarman. So mga ilang oras ba from our venue?
6 to 8 hours. 8 hours actually. Ayan na. Before mga 6 hours because of the road condition. Anyway, so ito karayo as far as Katarman naabot perangan para makig-join ang celebration ang 80th Leyte Gulf Landings anniversary.
So tama ka dyan, RD Rian. Exactly. So, talagang yung dedication nila, talagang pagbigay pugay o honor ng kanilang mga veterans. So yan yung isa puso din natin, no? Especially sa ating mga Gen Z ngayon.
Ginututugdo man siguro ang problema kay gotay lahi ang part. So hopefully mas tagan pa hiyahin more emphasis ang pagtutduhan history especially ang part han Leyte Gulf Landings.
Oh, dahil yun yung nagkaroon ng syempre World War II. Wow, napakaganda aerial view.
Ito sa hitkoan, view didi ha Leyte MacArthur Memorial Park. Overlooking kikita tipakanto palo siguro tanong apart
yan yung sa may exit yan yun sa may rotonda yung sa may intersection doon yung sa may BIR yan yung may tent
green na ko part imagine 80 years ago anong hitsura hinidit nga part
kaya baka mayroong mga baka mayroong mga patay na dyan, no? That time, so hindi natin alam.
Pakusog na ka bombardeyo, sugod na din nga mga oras.
Pero imagine that, napakagandang na ating national park, Ardirian, So I am sure na ongoing pa din yung mga renovations dyan, yung improvements din. And with the help ng ating national government as well. And of course, maraming salamat talaga yung ating idol Governor Ito Pitilla.
Especially Governor Pitilla for giving importance in celebration. And gihapon nga lugar pag-maintain. Imagine, naguba inihan Yolanda, tapos gin-restore. And then gin-pauropay pa ining itsurahan aton Memorial Park, Leyte Landing Memorial
Yeah, exactly. Kaya ganun mga kaibigan, yung ating mga young generations, no? Kaya ni-restore dahil ganun ka-importante yung ating Leyte Gulf Landings, mga kaibigan. So again, RD Rian, with that also, we'd like to say thank you sa malaking ambag, malaking tulong din ng ating First Lady ng probinsya ng Leyte. No?
Kaya talaga punong abalahin kaya every time may meeting, grabe ka seryoso, ma'am, gusto niya pulido, anong tawagin niya, kumbaga sunod-sunod.
Detailed talaga, di ba? Siyempre, president din siya ng Boy Scouts. Din sa Leyte.
All meetings, nagprepare pala, nakanto kita, representing the Philippine Information Agency para lang magkamayada kita masaluwag promotion and advocacy related to the celebration ng Leyte Gulf Landings.
Tama ka dyan. So, ngayon mga kaibigan, nakikita niyo sa screen, yan yung dagat. So, yan yung tinatawag na Red Beach. O baka sabihin niyo, bakit hindi pula yung beach na yan? Siyempre, Red Beach dahil maraming mga dugo. Siguro yan yung
gera dugo. Damon nag-suffer. Damon dugo nga umawas. Kaya tinawag yung Red Beach.
Di ba? So imagine, napakaganda din ng dagat, no? Tapos, kaya mamaya ng konti, ito din yung nagbigay ng excitement or excited din yung lahat dahil magkaroon tayo ng reenactment. So, kaya kung ako sa inyo, huwag kayong bibitaw, kapit lang kayo dyan, panood kayo sa ating live stream para naman makita nyo yung ating reenactment mamaya. So, mamaya ng konti. Siguro, dili namin sabihin kung kailan, basta darating tayo dyan.
I think, siguro, natin guest of honor?
Palapit na. Malapit na yung ating guest of honor, mga kaibigan. So, yung ating guest of honor today, walang iba kundi yung ating Secretary ng Department of National Defense, the Honorable Gilberto C. Teodoro Jr. So ayan, nag-antay na yung ating Governor, yung ating Congressman ng First District of Leyte, na yung ating House Speaker din, Speaker of the House, si Congressman Martin Romualdez, at yung ibang mga VIPs din at officials ng ating probinsya ng Leyte.
So in a few moments, matikang na ito natin formal good talaga nga pag commemorative program naton Leyte Gulf Landings anniversary.
So ito yung program mga kaibigan. So arrival of guest of honor, tapos arrival of honors, flag raising ceremony, wreath laying ceremony. Okay? So malapit na.
Panoorin!
Ladies and gentlemen, the guest of honor, Honorable Gilberto C. Chudoro Jr., Secretary, Department of National Defense. Mga kababayan, mga panauhin, Ginoo at Ginang, please rise and with one voice, let us all sing together, Lupang Hinirang, the Philippine National Anthem.
Tanghal! Ha! Pinuno, lipunan, huwag kamay. Na! Pinuno, kalipunan, ibang kamay. Na! Baba! Ta!
We shall now raise the flags of the countries herein represented, namely Australia, Japan, United States of America, Great Britain, New Zealand, and Canada.
Tanghal! Ta! Pinuno, kalipunan, huwag kamay. Na! Pinuno, kalipunan, ibang kamay. Na! Baba! Ta!
shall now proceed to the wreath-laying ceremony to honor the memory of our comrades who fought on this very shore. May I request the guests to proceed towards the shrine proper.
Tanod. Harap sa loob. Harap! Ginoo, handa na po ang pag-aalay. Kalipunan, harap sa kanan. Harap! Pasalong. Kat!
The wreaths that shall be offered. The wreaths that shall be offered are for the Board of Trustees, veterans of World War II, Lieutenant General Jaime S. de los Santos, AFP, retired. For the Veterans Federation of the Philippines, Major General Romeo D. Alamillo, retired, National President, and Brigadier General Dr. Joel Joseph Cabides, AFP, MNSA, retired. For the Philippine Veterans Administration Office, Undersecretary Reynaldo B. Mapago, Administrator. And for the people of the province of Leyte, Honorable Carlos Jericho L. Petilla, Governor. For the people of Australia, Her Excellency Hei Kyung Yu, PSM, FCPA, Ambassador Plenipotentiary and Extraordinary of Australia. For the people of Japan, His Excellency Endo Kazuya, Ambassador Plenipotentiary and Extraordinary of Japan. For the people of the United States of America, Major General Matthew McFarlane, First Commanding General, U.S. Army, USA. For the Legislative Branch of Government, Honorable Ferdinand Martin Romualdez, Speaker, House of Representatives. For and in behalf of the people of the Philippines, Honorable Gilberto C. Chudoro Jr., Secretary, Department of National Defense, accompanied by Lieutenant General Fernando M. Reyes, Philippine Army, Commander, Visayas Command.
Cut. Tanghal! Ta! Pinuno, alipunan, bukay kamay. Na! Pinuno, alipunan, bukay kamay. Na! Alipunan, sulong. Cut! Tanghal! Ta! Alipunan, bukay kamay. Na! Alipunan, baba kamay. Na! Babalik! Ginoo, tapos na po ang parangal. Yes, sir.
May I request our guest of honor, the distinguished guests and members of the diplomatic corps to proceed to the monument for the photo ops.
Kaliburan, harap sa kanan. Harap. Kaliburan, sulong. Kad. Kaliburan, sa likod ko. Kad. Harap sa labas! Harap!
Pag-handi ka ng mga allied force.
Yan ha. So yan yung isang kaalaman din natin. Dahil yung iba kasi, yung pakakaalam nila na Red Beach Resort na tuloy ha. So Red Beach, kaya nagkaroon ng maraming dugo. Kaya ngayon yung ating VIPs nagpo-photo opportunity sila sa ating monument.
Alright, so they'll proceed to the main stage, ano?
And thank you din sa nagbigay ng ideas ng ganun ha.
Thank you so much.
Alam ko din na yung ating logo ng ating ETF Leyte Gulf Landings, yung mga may significance din yan, yung mga red,
Blue,
white,
white,
blue.
Tikang haabuyog, tikang may yellow beach, blue beach.
Our audience is requested to take their seats for others to see the program and watch the program.
Hit. No. Wala papasok na, wala papasok.
Rian, hindi lang yung kasabihan na basa-basa pag may time. No, dapat bigyan ng time para magbasa.
Actually, this is just part of the landing. May nagihapon mga celebrations sa ginhimo. Dito G1, Eastern Samar. Kaya actually dito unang magamay ng mga pwersa gihapon han Allied Forces na nakabulig, nakatribuer han pag
World War II.
Liberate han haton nasod during World War II.
Oh, at hindi lang dito sa Eastern Visayas, meron din sa may Luzon na part, di ba?
Pangasinan, may nangyapin ito. Mga later part of that year, 1944, 44, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so talagang tumatanggap din naman kami ng mga mga ideas na pwede nyo i-share sa amin, information para i-broadcast din namin. So ngayon mga kaibigan, kung andito kayo, napakaganda na ng ating MacArthur Landing Memorial National Park. So alam ko na ongoing pa din yung improvement. So tagkilikin natin na pumunta dito para magkaroon naman tayo ng syempre alaala ng ating history.
Gusto natin nga po ni-greet natin mga live stream viewers na gusto nila makig-share gihapon, makibahagi sa activity ngayon. Damot nasing happy Leyte Landing anniversary.
Kailangan ba sabihin na happy?
Yeah,
Pwede happy. Depende lang dahil andito ba?
Liberate kita ang mga Japanese forces at that time. So at least maging malipayon kita. Kaya kung warihan to,
Paano na kaya, no?
Gawasan.
So, talagang we like to say thank you. Taos pusong pasalamat namin sa ating mga, siyempre, ating mga great lolo and lola.
Ito ang mga guerrilla, ito time, ito na itong mga veterano actually, nating bisog talaga. At ito nga time, di ko ma-imagine ano na rin kinabuhihan natong mga lolo-lola.
Oo nga, no?
Nananago ditong kabulkiran, natuthagragyo ang mga lugar na-interrupt talaga nila panginabuhi at that time. So salamat na naton mga nakibisog para natin kagawasan.
Tama ka dyan, RD Rian. Pero observe ko dito sa ating park dito sa MacArthur, ang daming mga balikbayans din, no? Daming mga balikbayans, mga kaibigan. Siyempre, parang ito din yung tinatawag na Great Leyte Homecoming.
This has been promoted by the provincial government of Leyte through the Leyte Provincial Tourism Information Center, Investment Center. So, ay rin paghatag higayon nga makabalik naton mga ikasilitenyo nga niha probinsya nga ma-experience gihapon ano na ang kitabaguhan anong pwede may offer naton province para naton mga kababayan nga gawas lang ang gusto ginaaghat nga bumalik sa probinsya.
Siyempre naman, tapos maraming mga naka-inline activities Alam ko na siguro yung one night dito sa park nagkaroon ng Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra.
Yeah, I was here.
Dito ka ba?
Oo.
Napakaganda ng ano.
Thursday night.
Thursday night, no?
Nabinahan ginplay an iroy nga tuna, bagat hapit tumuro anak luha. Kaya siyempre ang mga tower here nasabay rahan pag tugtughan orkestra.
Oo nga Kahit nga ngayon, kahit sinabi mo yun na yung na-play yung An-Iroy na tuna, para yung buhok ko dito sa likod parang gumagano din Para kung nalimbawt pa akong balibo. Because I was here also.
Labot hadto before mag-upay mga kanta, but pag play na talaga ng iroy nga to na dida na-touch na akong damdamin that time.
Tapos, yung sa LGU ng Palo din, nagkaroon din sila ng napakagandang activity din nila. Nagkaroon sila ng parang theater na ganun din, information din sa history ng Leyte Landing. So congratulations kay Mayor Martin Pitilia. Talagang when it comes to mga celebration, history, o yung mga paano para ma-divert ng maging impressive yung ating siyempre yung ating mga audience.
Going back, kita natin mga war veterans. We have 4 actually, 4 by 5.
5. Ang dami pa. Nandun pa. So bilangin na lang natin yung wheelchairs. Oh, yung wheelchairs natin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Baka mayroon pa dun sa dulo
We're
masyadong...
expecting lang na upat. Actually, damo ngayon ang nag-aabot to. And we believe mga veterans talaga ito, Hera. Ano? Kay, by the features lang.
Oh, yan yung ating mga provincial government department heads ng province of Leyte. So, kasama na yan. Andun yung ating provincial administrator, si Cora Alvero. Yung ating Philippine National Police as well.
Ato nakita ko itong mga fellow kwan, mga regional heads, regional, at kita ko ang taga Disud.
Baka hinahanap ka na nila. Asan ba yung ating RD ng PIA? Oh, paki-inform na lang yun na wala sa kanila, hindi nag-join sa kanila si RD Rian Arento ng PIA dahil nandito kami sa dito kami sa live stream. Sir Glenn.
UST.
Si Ma'am yung sa DALG natin. Province. Alam ko mga sons and daughters na to eh.
Yun. So, dinagod na iha, magtitigan na aton na program proper kan Leyte Gulf Landings anniversary. Didilot sa front kung makikita ito lagwayan na adigya pa natin mga provincial officials, iba natin ng mga government agencies, mga taga-academ, mga nga kaluyo. O damo pang nga mga kandirila didahan main stage. Ano ba tawag ito? Main stage ba ito dida? Or main
yung sa
venue? Oo.
para yun yung lagay natin ng official stage. Dahil andun yung
halaban na ligera ini nga amo ba yan kalsada ti kaliha baras
tikanto ha may
San Jose.
bypass yung San Jose.
So yan, magat tikang netresyo para lang aton commemorate ang Leyte Gulf Landing. So ali dito mga officials, iba nga mga government agencies, LCUs, and even mga eskwelahan para mag-witness ng 80th Leyte Gulf Landings.
Tama ka dyan, RD Rian. So, i-inform lang natin biglayin natin sila ng ideas kung ano ba talaga yung program natin mamaya. So, umpisan to ng opening prayer ni Reverend Monsignor Gilbert Orbina, yung ating Vicar General Archdiocese of Palo. And syempre, welcome remarks ng ating gorgeous mayor ng Palo Leyte, Honorable Remedios Martin Petilia. At sundan din niya ng solidarity greetings. So, dito kasama natin yung Chairman, Board of Trustees of the Veterans of World War II, si retired Lieutenant General Jaime S. De Los Santos of AFP. Tapos, andito din yung administrator ng Philippine Veterans Affairs Office or PIVA, mga kaibigan. So, si Yusek Reynaldo Mapago. Tapos, andito din yun, magbigay din ng kanang solidarity greetings. Si Major General Romeo Alamilio, or retired Major General Romeo Alamilio. Siya yung ating National President, Veterans Federation of the Philippines, VFP. Siyempre, dito din kasama natin mamaya ng konti, yung ating ambassador ng Embassy of Australia, Her Excellency Hei Kyung-yu. Tama ba yung pakakabigkas natin?
She's a Korean. In Australia. She's the ambassador of Australia.
At kasama din natin, I'm sure kasama natin yung ambassador ng Embassy of Japan, His Excellency Indo Katsuya. At magbigay din ng solidarity greetings, mga kaibigan, yung ating Speaker ng House of Representatives of the Philippines, yung ating First District Congressman, Honorable Ferdinand Martin G. Romualdez.
So, anniversary message from, of course,
bago yan, magkaroon muna ng dedication to peace.
It's a choral rendition of Irving Berlin's Heaven Watch the Philippines.
So ito yan.
Ko ito, when I was in elementary, kinakanta ito during flag ceremony.
Ganun ba? Hindi ko
Heaven,
na naabutan yun. Hindi ko naman ibig sabihin na matanda ka na. Hindi. Sino mas matanda ko sa hindi?
I'm only 32.
Baka meron lang ganun, no? So, yung mag-perform niyan may is from the Visayas State University, VSU, Tolosa Coral.
And then anniversary message of course, Honorable Governor Carlos Jericho Petilia, and that will be followed by the introduction of our guest of honor.
No other than yung ating Vice Governor ng Province of Leyte, Honorable Leonardo M. Javier Jr.
And then to be followed, of course, by the commemorative message of the Secretary, Honorable Gilberto Teodoro Jr. of the Department of National Defense.
Siguro magkaroon din ng video may yung siguro may message ng ating presidente ng Republika ng Pilipinas, no other than His Excellency Ferdinand Romualdez Marcos Jr. Tapos yung next part naman yan, ayan na, palapit na tayo. Ha? So may rededication of the Australian Memorial and unveiling of the U.S. Small Boats Association plaque to Australian civilian mariners. Siguro andyan din sa may part yan gaganapin. At yun na.
Most awaited part, of course, as part of the celebration is the reenactment
Oh,
of
yan
the
yung,
Leyte Gulf landings.
yan yung road to Leyte. Yeah. So abangan nyo yan mamaya mga kaibigan. So kung ako sa inyo,
Yeah, hindi nila, no?
dito lang sa park. Basta dito lang.
Makikita niyan.
Tapos yung Leyte hymn, ay hindi na ako yung kakanta ng Leyte. Pero kaiba din naman ng level na ito. Akala ko, sabi ko, ay, ba't napunta ako sa ganito? Sige, but anyway, I accept the challenge.
Of course.
Especially, sino ba naman baka pag no, kasama ko yung regional director ng Philippine Information Agency. Diba?
So later, may luncheon, pag-honor gihapon na natin mga veterans. That will be at the Leyte Convention Center.
Andun sila. And we'd like to say thank you sa ating Master of Ceremony, si Dr. Lesmes C. Lumen. So maraming salamat. And so papasalamat muna tayo sa ating mga people behind ng ating, of course, di ba? Ating live stream. Kina Miss Perlita. Perlita Ripalda, dito sa atin. Kasama namin yan. Yung mga taga-DYMP, LTIPC, Miss Jessine.
Of course, we are also cross-posted, PIA Eastern Visayas.
Ay, thank you.
All our provincial offices all over the region, naka-cross-post po tayo. And this is also cross-posted sa AGIO, Association of Government Information Officers of Region 8. So, damo kita yan ang nagkakarosa, nagkikita kapag kaya ining Leyte Gulf Landings Anniversary Celebration.
So, right now mga kaibigan, nakita natin yung from Tingog Party List, si Representative Jude Asidre. Katabi niya yung First Lady ng Province of Leyte, si former Mayor Ann Pitilla.
Requesting the media people to move backwards as we start the program.
Boss, pantay na lang tayo. Sige, makakapag-white.
People of Leyte, the newly refurbished MacArthur Landing Memorial National Park, erected on the shores of Red Beach, Palo, Leyte, as we pay tribute to the men and women who participated in the historic landings that paved the way to the eventual liberation of our country. The activities today will leave an indelible mark in our minds and hearts, as this may be the last time that we are going to pay tribute to the last 14 veterans. We shall also witness a full-blown reenactment of these events which unfolded in our country, with Leyte playing a major role that ended the war in the Pacific. It is of paramount importance for us to be able to pay tribute to our countrymen in all parts of the Philippines for their singular heroism and the sacrifices they made, so that today we all live in peace and harmony in a free new world. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the invocation to be led by Reverend Monsignor Gilbert Urbina, Vicar General of the Archdiocese of Palo.
God of all nations, Lord of history, through your guiding hand, you have helped humankind shape its course, and you continue inspiring us to carve a better future for ourselves and others in this world. You etched into the heart of each and every man and woman the values of life and liberty, valor and resilience, independence and freedom for the good and welfare of all. As we gather today for the commemoration of the 80th Leyte Gulf landings, we salute to the valor and heroism of the Filipino veterans of the Second World War. We pay tribute to the heroes of the Second World War, ever aware that this tribute to them is also our tribute to you, who has taught us the values of sacrifice and valor, to uphold the true dignity of each one, and to defend the rights of everyone, as you have taught us in your life and teachings. Bless this event and this assembly as well, and all who will come here to pay homage to our heroes and those who have offered their lives for our country and our people. May this inspire all, especially our young people, to avoid a myopic vision of life, to sacrifice for the sake of others, to transcend selfish interests, to prioritize the good of all over personal goals, family and community values over private plans, and values common to humanity over particular ideologies. Confident in your help, your boundless mercy and grace, we pledge before you to work for peace, not war, to uphold and respect each other, to seek what unites us, not what divides, to reach out in love to others, especially those who feel alienated, ostracized, and abandoned. We pray also for our brothers and sisters everywhere who at present are confronted with the horrors and ravages of conflicts and wars. We pray for those who perished, especially the faceless dead, and we ask for your enlightenment to the leaders of nations and peoples who are behind and at the forefront of all conflicts, so as to never waver or tire to look for ways to an end to senseless destruction and violence for the sake of all. We seek your comfort and strength to all victims of injustice and wars, and we plead for your unwavering compassion for each of us, despite our foibles and follies and unbridled ambitions. which sometimes impede our common desires for the best and ran counter to your very plan for us and this world. Give us all the courage and resolve to work for lasting and true peace, for the glory of your name and the welfare of humanity, and for this earth, our only common home. Amen.
Please take your seats. May I call on the Honorable Remedios L. Petilla, Mayor of the Municipality of Palo, for her welcome remarks.
Good morning, everyone, and happy celebrations of the 80th Leyte Gulf landings here on our beaches. Let me greet our very special guest this morning, His Excellency Kazuko Endo, Ambassador of the Embassy of Japan. Her Excellency Hai Kong Yu, Ambassador of the Embassy of Australia. Governor Jericho Ikot Pitilla. The Honorable Gilbert C. Teodoro Jr., Secretary of the Department of National Defense and our guest of honor today. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Speaker Ferdinand Martin Romualdez. Vice Governor Sandy Javier and Congressman Karen Javier. May I also greet the former Mayor of Palo Leyte, Francis Ann Pitilla. Major General Matthew McFarland of the United States, the Embassy of the United States of America. Lieutenant General De Los Santos of the Armed Forces of the Philippines and Chairman of the Board of Trustees of the Veterans of World War II. Yusek Reynaldo Mapago, Administrator of the Philippine Veterans Affairs Office. Major General Romeo Alamilio, National President, Veterans Federation of the Philippines. Reverend Monsignor Gilbert Urbina of the Archdiocese of Palo. Congressman Jude Asidre, Congressman Carl Kari, and Congressman Coco Yap. All the board members and provincial officials of the province of Leyte, all mayors, vice mayors, and officials of the municipalities of the province of Leyte, and all other municipalities in the region. All members of the Diplomatic Corps joining us this morning. Palo Vice Mayor Jojo Chiquillo and officials of the municipality of Palo. Dear veterans and families of veterans, the sons and daughters headed by General Cabides, distinguished guests, and all those who are gathered together this morning to commemorate this very important event in our lives 80 years ago. Beautiful, rainless morning to all of us. Actually, early this morning when we arrived, the skies were dark and gloomy and heavy, and we were thinking, oh my God, the rains will come. And then, all of a sudden, when we looked up, the dark clouds drifted away, And then there was the clear, beautiful morning that we are enjoying today. So thanks to the prayers of our heroes, and I know that they are with us today and praying for us for a beautiful celebration. So let me just share this welcome message to all of you. It is with deep honor and gratitude that I welcome you all to this historic commemoration, the 80th Leyte Gulf landings anniversary. Today, more than just the remembering of that pivotal moment in world history, we also pay tribute to the courage, sacrifice, and unwavering spirit of those who fought to secure the freedoms we enjoy today. To our dignitaries, thank you for your presence, which reflects the strong bonds of friendship and cooperation that continue to unite our nations. Your commitment in honoring the legacy of this event ensures the future generations pledge and vow never to forget the sacrifices made on this very shore, the red beach of the municipality of Palo and all the municipalities in the stretch of the liberation of the landings. To our veterans, you are the living embodiment of bravery and dedication. The memories of the Leyte Gulf landings are imprinted in history because of men and women like you who stood in defense of liberty and peace. Today, we honor your service and the legacy you have left behind. To my fellow public servants, officials, and community leaders, our role in safeguarding the memory of this moment and carrying its lessons forward is very vital. Together, we bear the responsibility of ensuring that this history remains alive, not only in the hearts of Leyteños, but also in the hearts of every and all Filipinos. As we commemorate the significant milestone, let us remember that the Leyte Gulf landings mark not just the beginning of the end of World War II and the liberation of the Philippines, but a turning point in the global struggle for peace and justice. It is a reminder of what can be achieved when nations and people come together in the spirit of cooperation and solidarity. Thank you for joining us in this solemn and momentous occasion. May we continue to draw inspiration from the heroes of the past as we work together towards a peaceful and prosperous future. Again, welcome from the heart of the Palonoons. Thank you for your presence today. Maupay nga aga aton nga tanan.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us now listen to the messages of solidarity from our visiting dignitaries. May I first call on Lieutenant General Jaime S. de los Santos, AFP retired, Chairman, Board of Trustees, Veterans of World War II.
The Honorable Secretary of National Defense, Gilbert Chodoro. Good morning, sir. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Romualdez. The Governor of Leyte, Governor Pitilla. Your Excellencies of the Diplomatic Corps, the different veterans organizations, both in government and in the private sector, distinguished members, ladies and gentlemen, magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. This year, as we commemorate the 80th anniversary of this historic event, is not only a reminder of the sacrifices of our World War II veterans, but also a reflection of how far our nation has come since those dark days. For many, the Leyte landing signifies more than just a military operation. It embodies the struggles and eventual triumph of freedom over tyranny. This was not just a victory in war, but a testament to the resilience and fighting spirit of the Filipino people. The descendants of these veterans are not merely passive witnesses to their forebears' sacrifice. As we participate in this year's commemoration, we are called to carry the torch of their memory forward. We must continue to fight for the values they defended: freedom, democracy, and justice. As Filipinos, we must ensure that their sacrifice was not in vain by continuing to defend their freedom they fought so hard to secure. The core of the celebration of the Leyte landing is a reminder of the strength that comes from unity. The liberation of the Philippines would not have been possible without the collaboration between the Filipino and American forces, as well as the collective will of the Filipino people. But the unity is best exemplified in the presence of the Japanese ambassador, because in the present day, a once adversary has become a staunch supporter, our partners in defense and economic activities. Let us be inspired by the heroism of those who came before us and be challenged to live lives that honor their legacy. Their battle may not ended, but our responsibility to carry their values forward continues. The enduring legacy of the Leyte landing is a call to remember and a call to act. Thank you. Good morning.
To give his solidarity message, may I call on Undersecretary Reynaldo B. Mapago, Administrator, Philippine Veterans Affairs Office.
Our guest of honor, the Honorable Secretary of National Defense, Attorney Gilberto C. Teodoro Jr., sir. The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Congressman Ferdinand Martin Romualdez, sir. Excellencies of the Diplomatic Corps, Governor Petilla, Mayor Petilla, other distinguished guests, veterans of World War II and their families. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is a great honor and privilege to join you today as we gather to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the Leyte Gulf landings. On this same day, 80 years ago, Palo Leyte became the stage for an event that would go down in our history as one of the most decisive battles of the Pacific during World War II and a critical moment in the liberation of the Philippines. As we commemorate today's event, let us also take a moment to reflect on the difficult truth that in war, nobody is a winner. Indeed, battles are fought. Winners are declared or victories are declared, but the cost of war is borne by all, with precious lives cut short and cities razed to the ground. What we all truly gain from war is the painful understanding that peace is precious and fragile, both at the highest price of selfless sacrifice. Here on this sacred ground, we do not merely commemorate a battle. We celebrate the spirit of cooperation that brought nations together to fight for freedom. Today, representatives from other nations stand with us, a testament to the enduring bonds of friendship and unity forged in the fires of war. And let this be a reminder that true strength that does not come from weapons, but from the resolve to work together in peace. As we look to the future, may we continue to build bridges instead of walls, to pursue dialogue instead of conflict, and to stand as partners in the collective mission for a more peaceful world. The legacy of Leyte lives on in our shared commitment to safeguarding the peace for which so many have given their lives. And together in solidarity, let us honor the past by working tirelessly for a future free from the horrors of war and a future where peace prevails and nations thrive together. Thank you, and may we all continue to walk the path of peace and unity. Maraming salamat po and mabuhay.
Major General Romeo D. Alamillo, retired, National President, Veterans Federation of the Philippines.
May I acknowledge the presence of our guest of honor and speaker, who shall be properly introduced later. Other distinguished guests who have been mentioned earlier by the previous speakers. May I make special acknowledgement of the presence of the representatives or themselves of the 14 living World War II veterans of Region 8, surviving spouses, sons and daughters, fellow veterans, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is a pleasure to be with you here today as we gather to commemorate the 80th Leyte Gulf landings, a pivotal moment in our history that marked the beginning of the liberation of the Philippines during World War II. Solidarity is exemplified this morning that in the spirit of friendship, the countries of the United States, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, Great Britain, and the Philippines now stand side by side with former adversary Japan in pursuit of unity, prosperity, and collective security. Just a while ago, about 800 post-World War II veterans joined the Grand March as a show of oneness or solidarity with the people of Leyte. Given better resources, we shall see more than 1,000 of them in the future commemorations. The battalion of veterans you just witnessed, who proudly and enthusiastically passed in review in a grand march led by veteran Jose T. Hacla, the President of the Veterans of the Philippines, Region 8, and a proud son of Leyte, attests to the appreciation of your veterans in honoring them in today's celebration as a tribute to the heroism and valor of all Filipino veterans. Today, as we face new challenges from this bully neighboring China, let us draw inspiration from the heroes of Leyte. Let their spirit of cooperation, perseverance, and hope guide us as we work together to build a stronger, more prosperous, and more inclusive Philippines. Let us honor their memory by fostering a sense of unity and solidarity within our communities, bridging divides and embracing our shared aspirations. The Veterans Federation of the Philippines vows never to forget their sacrifices and their stories. We pledge to honor their memory by working for the propagation of the heroic deeds of these World War II veterans and the promotion of mutual helpfulness among the post-World War II and their descendants. The BFP expresses its profound gratitude to the provincial government of Leyte for the use of a 1,000 square meter property at the government center in Candahog, Palu, Leyte, just 300 meters away from here, where the 25 million two-story BFP building has just been erected through the joint efforts of the Tingog Party List, Speaker Ferdinand Martin Romualdez, maraming salamat po sir, and Veteran Jose T. Hacla, the President of Region 8. The new building, which is adjacent to the Philippine Veterans Affairs Office or PIBAO building, will house the BFP Regional Assistance Center 8 and also provide accommodation to the Armed Forces of the Philippines Pension and Gratuities Management Center to provide and serve better the needs of our veterans in Region 8. Moreover, the BFP plans to develop the building to become a memorial dedicated to Ruperto Cangnion, who led the resistance movement in Leyte and prepared the landing of the American forces led by General Douglas MacArthur, paving the way for the liberation of the Philippines from the Japanese invaders. Again, let us make this clarion call. Let us unite as one nation with gratitude for our past and steadfast dedication to our future together. We can overcome in any challenge and achieve greatness. Mabuhay ang Pilipinas, mabuhay ang Leyte.
For her solidarity message, Her Excellency He Yong-yu, PSM, FCPA, Ambassador Plenipotentiary and Extraordinary of Australia.
Secretary Teodoro, other distinguished guests, and ladies and gentlemen, magandang umaga sa inyong lahat. It is my honor and privilege to be here this morning to represent the people of Australia, and in particular the descendants of the veterans, some of whom are here with us today. They have flown all the way from Australia to be with us today for the 80th anniversary of the Leyte landings. Yell out if you can hear me, guys. I know you're out there somewhere. There you are. That's the Aussie spirit. Thank you. Thank you. We gather on this solemn occasion to offer our deep respect and to acknowledge the courage and sacrifice of those who fought so bravely in these seas, in the skies above, and on this land to contribute to the liberation of the Philippines 80 years ago. As many speakers have already said, this day marks a critical juncture in Filipino history, a day where the Filipino people, with the assistance of close friends, once again triumphed in the face of adversity. In February 1942, General Douglas MacArthur made his way from the Philippines to Australia to organize the American offensive against Japan, a primary objective of which was the relief of the Philippines. And on the 20th of March, in the small South Australian town of Tarawi, he uttered the words that defined his focus for the remainder of the war. He said, "I came through and I shall return." General MacArthur formally assumed command of the Australian Armed Forces on the 18th of April 1942, a force that included 100,000 members of the 2nd Australian Imperial Force, 265,000 Australian militia, and 38,000 Americans. It was 2.5 years later, following heavy fighting across the Pacific by Australian, American, and other allied forces, before he was able to make good on his promise. And exactly 80 years ago, when General MacArthur was finally able to return to the Philippines, he came ashore in the company of Australian Defence Force personnel. For Australia, this anniversary speaks to the enduring friendship that Australia and the Philippines share in both good times and in bad. We stood, flew, sailed, and fought alongside our Filipino friends 80 years ago, just as we did over 10 years ago in the months after Typhoon Yolanda. And just as we are working closely together today to help assure Philippine security and sovereignty. Few people today would be aware of the extent and diversity of Australia's contribution to the liberation campaign, from the escaped Australian prisoners who fought alongside Filipino guerrillas, through to Australian warships that endure the terrifying ordeal of kamikaze attacks, and the Royal Australian Air Force aircraft that laid mines at the entrance of Manila Bay. The newly relocated Australian Memorial that's behind you at the entrance to MacArthur Park is testament to the effort and records the names of our fallen alongside the names of the units that commanded the more than 4,000 Australian service personnel who participated in the liberation of the Philippines. And I'm proud today to further recognize the rich history of Australia in the Philippines with the unveiling of, later this morning, of a plaque to the service of Australian civilians during the liberation of the Philippines, specifically those who served the Australian Merchant Navy and US Army Small Ship Section. Shout out to you guys there. I know the members and the chair of the section is out there. And so we will also be honoring the memory of Australian civilians interned in the Philippines. Today we honor those veterans and the families of those who fought and died in the Leyte campaign. We are humbly grateful for your service. And finally, to the governor and local government of Leyte and the mayors and people of Tacloban and Palo, thank you for your generous hospitality and for the continued remembrance you give annually to your nation's heroes and veterans and to those who fought alongside you to liberate the Philippines. Maraming salamat po and mabuhay.
His Excellency Endo Kazuya, Ambassador Plenipotentiary and Extraordinary of Japan.
Honorable Gilbert Teodoro, Secretary of National Defense, Honorable Martin Romualdez, Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Carlos Jericho Petilla, Governor of Leyte, Honorable Remedios Petilla, Mayor of Palo, Leyte, Her Excellency Ambassador He Kyung-yu, Australian Embassy, Major General Matthew McFarlane, U.S. Embassy, esteemed Filipino veterans, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. It is a great honor to join you all today at the 80th commemoration of the Leyte Gulf landing. I stand here on these hallowed shores with profound reverence, facing our shared history squarely and reflecting on the bravery of those who made the ultimate deeds and sacrifices during the war are the very foundations of our future-oriented relationship. To Filipino veterans, I extend my sincerest respect to each one of you whose unwavering dedication and service played a crucial role for the peace, prosperity, stability, and dignity of this great nation. We, the Japanese people, carry within our hearts the fervent understanding that the peace and prosperity we treasure today are built upon the magnanimity and benevolence graciously extended to us by the Filipino people. The spirit of compassion has been the cornerstone of our reconciliation. It continues to guide our future-oriented partnership. From our past struggles to our present endeavors, countless individuals across various sectors of society in both countries have worked tirelessly to rebuild trust and foster an environment of mutual respect and understanding. Today, our two nations stand closer than ever, not only as partners, but as the closest of friends. We will be celebrating the 70th anniversary of the normalization of our diplomatic relations in 2 years. Milestones that reflect the journey we have shared and the progress we have made together. Since 1966, Japan has proudly been the largest official development assistance donor to the Philippines, actively supporting sustainable growth through numerous initiatives across various areas of cooperation. The San Juanico Bridge was built in 1973 as one of the Philippine-Japan Friendship Highway projects, connecting Leyte and Samar provinces. Japan has recently been conducting the preparatory survey for construction of the second San Juanico Bridge project. Such infrastructure projects symbolize our shared commitment to the development and well-being of the Filipino people. People-to-people ties are also robust. Japan is now the most popular destination for Filipino tourists. I expect that we will be welcoming so many Filipino friends again around Christmas this year. In July, Japan and the Philippines concluded the second Foreign and Defense Ministerial Meeting 2+2 with resounding success. Thanks to the effort of Secretary Teodoro, a highlight of which was the signing of the Reciprocal Access Agreement, RAA, marking new era in our defense cooperation. RAA will further facilitate mutual visits of our forces and strengthen our joint efforts. Over the years, Japan has continued to strive in bolstering Philippines' maritime domain awareness and maritime law enforcement capabilities, providing aircraft to the Philippine Navy, air surveillance radar systems to the Philippine Air Force, and multi-role response vessels to the Philippine Coast Guard. Our relations now epitomize the profound depth of our special friendship. From the shadows of our past pains, we have emerged as steadfast partners, united in our dedication to promoting peace and prosperity. Together with the United States and Australia, we have become trusted democratic partners united by a common goal, free and open in the Pacific region. In collaboration with other like-minded nations, we have engaged in a wide variety of multilateral exercises, such as the recently concluded Maritime Cooperative Activity 2024 Sama-Sama exercises and the Commandant 8-24 to enhance regional security cooperation. As we turn our gazes at the world, we see the international order under strain due to escalating geopolitical tensions. We witness the ongoing aggression of Russia against Ukraine and the deteriorating situations in the Middle East. In our region, the security environment in the East and South China Sea stands as one of the most complex and daunting challenges. We unequivocally oppose any unilateral attempts to change the status quo by force, as such actions threaten the very foundation of the global order we are dedicated to preserving. We remain resolute and undeterred. We, the Japanese people, are determined to never allow the devastation of war to be repeated ever again, for the sake of present and future generations. by upholding the international order based on the rule of law, I assure that Japan and the Philippines, together with other like-minded countries, become united partners in building a world founded on peace, harmony, and goodwill. Our veterans have passed on to us this shining legacy, and it is our duty as torchbearers to ensure that our shared vision flourishes in the years to come. Let us walk this path together, united in our shared commitment to a prosperous future for both our nations. Maraming salamat po. Mabuhay ang pagkakaibigan ng Japan at Pilipinas. Mabuhay ang kapayapaan at kamandaran ating sa rehiyon. Maraming salamat po.
For another solidarity message, Major General Matthew McFarlane, 1st Corps Commanding General, U.S. Army, Embassy of the United States of America.
Mr. Secretary, Governor, Mr. Speaker, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, honored government officials, fellow service members from many different countries, past and present, and especially veterans of this battle and battles since. Magandang umaga po. I'd like to thank Governor Carlos Petilla and Palo Mayor Petilla and all the people of Leyte for commemorating this historic Leyte Gulf landing every year. It's incredibly important we continue to hold the torch for the sacrifice of so many and the ideals for which they sacrificed as we continue to live our lives today. I'd like to especially point out how honored we are by the presence of the Secretary of National Defense, Teodoro. Sir, your commitment to peace, security, and partnership ensure that the legacy of this significant moment in history is upheld and remembered, and we continue to drive progress with those ideals. I'd also like to highlight Ambassador Zendo and Ambassador Yu and all the countries that are represented by flags on that monument to our front. Your presence here today is incredibly important as we move forward in the future with this battle in mind. On October 20th, 1944, also called A-Day, brave American, Filipino, and Australian service members fought valiantly, side by side, to recapture this area from occupation. This significant battle marked the return of General Douglas MacArthur and Allied forces to the Philippines, eventually leading to the liberation of the Philippines. The shared sacrifices undertaken by the U.S., Philippine, and Australian forces laid the foundation for the Mutual Defense Treaty and the close alliance between the U.S. and Philippines, the first in the region and the longest lasting alliance, which stands strong to this day. When he returned to the Philippines, General Douglas MacArthur hailed the Filipino people and their resolve, and I quote, an unswerving and resolute devotion to the principles of freedom that challenge the best that is written on the pages of human history, end quote. That devotion to freedom, your devotion to freedom and democracy still rings true today, enables the strong ties between our two nations as dedicated friends and partners in prosperity and ironclad allies. In 1944 and today, the United States and the Philippines are committed to securing a free, open, prosperous, and secure world for our peoples. The U.S.-Filipino alliance is one of the most important and consequential relationships in the region and in the world. As Secretary Blinken said during the historic 2+2 dialogue in Manila in July, our bilateral relationship is the strongest that it's ever been. We are capitalizing on this unprecedented moment in concrete ways. As was mentioned by the Ambassador of Japan, working together with other like-minded nations in the region, like with exercise Sama-Sama that was recently conducted here. Today, the United States and the Philippines, along with Australia and Japan, work shoulder to shoulder across the region, strengthening partnerships and supporting a goal of a free and open Indo-Pacific. This is the power of possibility. No challenge is insurmountable when we work together. The U.S. and the Philippines are also collaborating on humanitarian efforts. Last month, U.S. forces supported your efforts to respond to Typhoon Julian, providing needed logistics support to deliver badly needed supplies to some of the most remote parts of the Philippines. This effort is part of our commitment to support the Philippines' response to national disasters. 80 years after U.S. forces returned to the Philippines on this very beach, we stand with you in so many different ways. To the veterans and their families who are present today, on behalf of the United States government, I'd like to extend my deep gratitude for your service. And I am so grateful to live in a world of freedom and to work to ensure we can deter war, because we understand it better than anybody what the cost of war brings. Work to ensure peace prevails over conflict and to ensure we continue to live a life of freedom and democracy. Mabuhay, damohay, salamat. Thank you very much.
Honorable Ferdinand Martin G. Romualdez, Speaker, House of Representatives of the Philippines, for his solidarity message.
Maupaya nga ayong tanan to His Excellency, our guest speaker, guest of honor, Secretary of National Defense, Gilberto Chodoro, my classmate and my friend, to our Governor Carlos Jericho Alpetilla, our host, Mayor Martin Petillo Palo, of course, to Her Excellency Ambassador Heikki you of Australia, and all the Aussies back there. Yes. To His Excellency Ambassador Endo Kazuya of Japan, U.S. Major General Matthew McFarland, Administrator Reynaldo Mapagu of the Philippine Veterans Office, to our local officials led by Governor Carlos Jericho Petilla, Mayor Remedios Petilla, to our congressmen, Congressman Judas Sidre, Congressman Aaron Javier, of course, Vice Governor Sandy Javier, Congressman Okoyap, and Congressman Kalkari, to our distinguished guests representing our gallant veterans, fellow workers in government, sa aking mga kababayan dito sa Leyte, maupay nga hayong tananan. It's truly a great privilege to join you here as we celebrate a singularly significant event in history, not just for Leyte, but for the Philippines and the world. The Leyte landing was a turning point in World War II here in the Asian region. And as we gather here today to honor the brave men and women whose names may not be as famous as General Douglas MacArthur, but nonetheless made personal sacrifices so that we can be here today in freedom. Arahan aton mga beteranong, nga haira mga pamilya, nga anhi, damo salamat. Ang nasud, nagpapasalamat hayo, hakadayunan. As we celebrate bravery, let us also celebrate the progress we've made in forging peace so that what happened then will not happen again. We commend the solidarity of the nations of Australia, Japan, the United States, in our shared aspirations for a secure and peaceful region. Your presence today is a testament of how far we have come in terms of promoting and protecting our respective national interests. No longer through the destructive contest of arms and violence, but through peaceful and diplomatic efforts, which is more sustainable. These pave the way for the continued development of our respective countries, further strengthening our diplomatic and economic relations, opening up new opportunities for our mutual benefit. Let us continue working together in this regard. Damo nga salamat baka nandito sa 80th anniversary ng Leyte Gulf landing. Mabuhay ang sabay ng Pilipinas.
Ladies and gentlemen, in 1944, right after the liberation of Leyte, the illustrious composer Irving Berlin, then assigned at the American Air Base in Giwan, Eastern Samar, wrote a stirring song which he sang for President Sergio Osmeña in a reception in Tolosa, Leyte. Let us listen to the rendition of the song, Heaven Watch the Philippines, to be rendered by the Visayas State University Tolosa Campus Alumni Choral. Ladies and gentlemen, the anniversary message of Honorable Carlos Jericho L. Petilla, Governor, Province of Leyte.
Thank you very much for lending me a microphone. Before anything else, I'd like to greet, of course, our guest of honor, Secretary Gilbert Chudoro. Thank you very much for gracing the occasion. The Speaker of the House, Congressman Martin Romualdez, again, thank you also for coming over and bearing the sun with all of us. Mayor Martin Petilla, members of the Diplomatic Corps, our officials from the national agencies, from the local government unit, from the private sector, special mention to our veterans, the 14 remaining veterans that we have, and the families who accompanied them here, and including those relatives of the sons and daughters of our veterans. Again, a pleasant good morning to all of us. We've been celebrating Leyte Gulf landings several years now. Every time I come over here, my son will ask me, "Where are you going?" I said, "It's October 20. We're going to celebrate again." "Why do you keep on celebrating? Every year you say the same thing." And I said, "Because it's time, it's the only time when we can encourage people to tell the story over and over again, because it's a story that needs to be told, even if it's the same." During celebration, it appears that same thing happened. In fact, one time, several years ago, we added a little twist. We asked a veteran to give a speech for a change. So his name was Manopuli from Palo. So we asked him, "Can you give a 10-minute speech?" He was enthusiastic, took the mic, and he told his story. In 1944, October 20th, 1,600 planes, 23 carriers, aircraft carriers, many tanks, explosion everywhere, paratroopers, sinking ships, crashing planes. While he was telling the story, I can imagine it was like an IMAX 360-degree movie. And he was so passionate, full of enthusiasm, animated storytelling, graphical in nature. He was supposed to give a 10-minute speech. After 1.5 hours, he paused and he said, "And that was day one. It took us 10 minutes to convince him to continue his story next year." Manopuli died. He passed away several years ago. We never got a chance to hear the second day. But along with our veterans, the stories that they have with them appear to be dying with our veterans, with only 14 remaining veterans. And that's why we have to celebrate. We have to find a way to continue and tell the stories even beyond the lives of our veterans. Perhaps that is why we're passionate in celebrating and in telling the stories. There have been so many wars that came after World War II. We have the Korean War. We have the Six-Day War in the Middle East, the Vietnam War, the Kosovo War, the Middle East Gulf War, the Afghanistan, and now we have the Ukraine and the Gaza Strip. I'm not sure what it is with the human race, but we never seem to run out of wars. There is an old saying, You win some, you lose some. A coach will say this to his basketball team. You win some, you lose some. A political analyst will say this during election. You win some, you lose some. A businessman will say this when closing business transactions. You win some, you lose some. We appear to glorify war in the movies. But in the war, it is not applicable. You don't say you win some, you lose some. Because in a war, everybody loses. And that is why war should be avoided at all costs. But while war should be avoided at all costs, freedom has never been achieved without any sacrifice. When our sovereign rights are threatened, we cannot sit back and ignore the threat unless we want the brave veterans, spirits who fought and died for our country 80 years ago to come back and haunt us. Going back to my son's question on why we celebrate Leyte Gulf landings every year, perhaps the answer is we don't really celebrate. We commemorate and remember the events that happened 80 years in the hope that it can guide us, shape our future. As we stand here today, let us not only remember the great victory that was won, but also honor the peace that followed. Let us continue to foster unity, solidarity, and cooperation. Values that are more important now than ever. Let this day serve as a reminder of the power of hope, of standing together, and of the enduring past pursuit of peace. Maraming salamat. Mabuhay kitang tanan.
Thank you, Governor. To introduce our guest of honor, may I request Honorable Leonardo M. Javier Jr., Vice Governor of Leyte, to do the honors.
Secretary Gilberto C. Chodoro Jr. is the Secretary of National Defense, Department of National Defense, and the Principal Assistant and Advisor of the President on Defense Matters, exercises overall authority, direction, and control over the D&D offices and its bureaus. Secretary Chodoro first served as Secretary of National Defense from 2007 to 2009, where he pushed for key initiatives in security sector reform. The Honorable Secretary also pursued strengthening of bilateral and multilateral security and defense cooperation with both regional and extra-regional states to further peace and combat non-traditional security threats. Prior to joining the D&D, Secretary Chodoro served as a congressman, a member of the Philippine House of Representatives from 1998 to 2007, 9 years. Wow. As a congressman, he principally authored Securities Code of 2000, shifting the Philippine Securities Regulation System from a merit regulation system to a full disclosure system. He was a member of the Legislative Executive Development Advisory Council, the LEDAC, and was the head of a sizable block of the Nationalist People's Coalition representatives and had stints as the Assistant Majority Leader and the Deputy Minority Leader. Secretary Teodoro was also a former youth representative, having served as a member of the Provincial Board of Tarlac, Kabataan Barangay KB Chairman of Region 3 from 1980 to 1985. Secretary Teodoro in Cambridge, Massachusetts of the USA, and was admitted to the State Bar of New York. He completed the Command and Staff Course of the Philippine Air Force and the AFP Joint and Combined Staff. Officer course and won the Leadership Award in both courses. Secretary Teodoro was awarded the Philippine Legion of Honor with the rank of Grand Commander, the first to be awarded such a rank. Wow. He is also our MISA, a proud member of the Philippine Military Academy, Magilas, class of 76. He is married to Monica Lopez Prieto, the Philippine Special Envoy to the UNICEF and a former member of the 14th Congress of the Philippines, and he is also a father to Jaime Gilberto. Ladies and gentlemen, let us all welcome our guest of honor, Honorable Secretary Gilberto Gibo C. Teodoro Jr.
Please take your seats, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much to our distinguished Vice Governor, the Honorable Sandy Javier, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Honorable Ferdinand Martin G. Romualdez, and a proud classmate, the Honorable Ikot Petilla, Governor of the Province of Leyte, the Honorable Remedios L. Petilla, our Mayor and former classmate in the House of Representatives, Excellencies of the Diplomatic Corps, Ambassador Yu and Ambassador Endo Casuya, Senior Department of National Defense officials led by Undersecretary Lieutenant General Reynaldo Mapagu, General Romeo D. Alamilio, our military host for today, our CEMCOM Commander Lieutenant General Fernando Reyeg, colleagues in government, our veterans present today, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is my honor to represent His Excellency President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. today in today's commemoration. The President was personally invited by His Excellency President Prabowo Subianto of Indonesia, who takes his oath of office as President today. And as we know, Indonesia is a very important ASEAN partner, and it is indeed an honor for the President to represent us in this historic event. The President extends his greetings to everyone, especially to the people of Leyte, fellow government officials and employees, and distinguished guests. Before I go to the meat of what I want of my task today, it is perhaps providential that our President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces is from Leyte. He's a son of Leyte as much as he is a son of our area in the north. And it is providential because as a continuum and as honoring the sacrifice of the veterans here, to include his father, he continues the legacy of building national defense and resilience, not only against those who would want to occupy our territory or to abuse our territorial integrity, sovereignty, and to take over our sovereign rights, but also building resilience against natural disasters and calamities. And we do this not only with the synergy between the legislature and the executive department, but also in cooperation with like-minded nations represented by our distinguished visitors here. And I will read the message of His Excellency the President. 80 years ago, Leyte witnessed a turning point in history. Imagine being here, right in this very shore. General Douglas MacArthur stepped off a landing craft and made good on the 3 words that kept a whole nation hanging on: I shall return. What happened on October 20, 1944, still resonates with us today. Beyond being the largest naval battle of World War II, it marked the beginning of our long walk to freedom. And freedom, as we know, does not come cheap. That day, a vast armada of ships slowly appeared on the horizon. For Filipinos, after enduring years of harsh occupation, the sight of those ships was the unmistakable sign that the long, dark night of oppression was nearing its end. And freedom was no longer just a distant hope, but an imminent reality. General MacArthur, along with President Sergio Osmeña, walked ashore at Red Beach in Palo, Leyte, and that moment became emblematic of the resolve of the Allied forces and of the Filipino people. Although these men came from different backgrounds, they were united by a single cause: freedom. They came from the United States, Australia, and even from our own soil, facing extraordinary challenges brought by a determined invader. They gave everything for the possibility of a tomorrow free from oppression. Today, we celebrate every soldier who has left home, not knowing if they would ever return. We pay tribute to our brave men and women who paid the ultimate sacrifice, and we remember civilians who lived through years of fear and deprivation, yet held onto hope. To our veterans, words will never be enough to express the depth of our gratitude. What you gave us goes far beyond what we could ever repay. You have shown us that courage is about carrying the weight of sacrifice, about standing firm in the face of overwhelming odds, and trusting that your struggle would bring freedom to others. Because this fight did not end in 1944. It lives on in each of us, and it is our duty to continue their legacy. Sa ating mga kabataan, na hindi naranasan ng digmaan, ngunit minana ang aral na kaysaysayan. Naway magsilbing paalala ang araw na ito. Ang kalayaang tinatamasa natin ngayon ay hindi basta ibinigay. Ito ay ipinaglaban. Bunga ng dugo, pawis at luha ng ating mga ninuno. Mga kababayan, sa ating mga veterano at sa bawat Pilipino, ang laban nila ay laban natin. Let us carry forward the lessons of those who gave their all, so that we can prosper in a society where hope and opportunity flourish for all. Maraming salamat po at mabuhay ang bagong Pilipinas. That was the message of the President. On my end, as the Secretary of National Defense, I would like to convey my utmost support to all initiatives that aim to ensure that the lessons and legacy of the Leyte Gulf landings are preserved and shared and lived with current and future generations. On behalf of the Department, let me reiterate our commitment to fulfilling our mandate under the leadership of His Excellency the President of protecting our national security, territorial integrity, and the freedoms that our veterans have fought so hard for. Once again, thank you very much. May God bless us all.
Thank you, Secretary Chidoro. Governor Carlos Jericho L. Petilla shall now offer the 80th Leyte Gulf Landings Commemorative Plaque and a token of appreciation to our guest of honor from the people of the province of Leyte. Ladies and gentlemen, may I invite everyone to join Her Excellency Hei Yong-yu, the Ambassador of Australia, for the rededication of the Australian Memorial and the unveiling of the U.S. Small Boats Association plaque to Australian civilian members. Please follow our protocol.
Okay, so mga kaibigan, so yan yung message ng ating guest of honor, si Secretary of National Defense, RD. So ngayon, papunta na yan sila sa, meron tayong part na rededication of the Australian Memorial and unveiling of the U.S. Small Boats Association plaque to Australian civilian mariners. So papunta na yan sila Governor, yung ating guest of honor. So mag-unveil yan sila.
With Ambassador of Australia, Her Excellency Hei Yong-yu.
Yeah, exactly. At syempre kasama din yung ating mga VIPs din, doon sina Speaker of the House, Congressman Martin Romualdez. But anyway, so yung ating mga viewers dyan, keep on sharing the live para naman magkaroon tayo ng malaking ambag ng ating history. So ito yung 80th Leyte Gulf Landings Commemoration. So yung weather ngayon mga kaibigan, napakaganda pa din. Diba?
Kasi kapingit lang. Kaya mag-alas 12 naman ko na, no? Harapit na mag-udto. So at least mag-amasiran. Pero at least favorable gihapon haton activity for today.
Yeah, exactly. So right now, on your screen mga kaibigan, ito yung in preparation na yan para sa yung ating rededication of the Australian Memorial and unveiling of the U.S. Small Boats Association plaque to Australian civilian mariners. So siguro talagang malaki din yung ambag na. Oh, yun, di ba? So isa din yung karagdagan dito sa ating park mga kaibigan, yung parang ano siya marker. So pag pumunta kayo dito sa site sa MacArthur Landing Memorial National Park, so nagkaroon tayo ng isang additional ng ating marker dito. Ito yung...
So this is new, bago yun yan.
Yes, bago yan.
Butangida.
Dahil dati, parang meron naman yan dati. Siguro dilipat lang yan dyan para organize naman ito. Talagang malawak na tingnan yung ating national park.
Ayan. So aside from the ambassador of the Australian Embassy, may gihapon mga kaupod gihapon, mga Australian nationals, I think, para mag-participate in unveiling of the US Small Boats Association plaque.
Dahil syempre sa kanilang parte din, naging memorable din yan sa kanila. No? Especially ngayon, 80, umabot tayo ng 80 anyos mga kaibigan.
Ladies and gentlemen, magandang umaga sa inyong lahat.
Okay, so tunghayan natin. Ayan, umpisa na yung program.
To the Embassy of Australia, thank you for your presence here this morning on the occasion to unveil a plaque in memory of the Australian civilians who contributed through service and sacrifice to the liberation of the Philippines 80 years ago. I'd like to formally again welcome our guest of honour, Secretary National Defence, the Honourable Gilberto Teodoro Jr. So thank you for your presence today. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of the Australian Ambassador to the Philippines, Her Excellency HKU. I'd like to thank for their hospitality and their ongoing recognition of this day. Governor of Leyte, the Honourable Jericho Carlos Padilla. I would like to recognise the Mayor of Palo, the Honourable Ramula Padilla. I would also like to thank representatives of foreign embassies, Japanese ambassador, representatives of the United States Defence Force, Lieutenant General McFarlane, sir. I would also like to thank the veterans and recognise their presence here today and welcome everyone and thank them for attending this unveiling of the memorial to Australian civilians. I'd now like to ask everyone to face forward, face the flags for the playing of the national anthems of the Republic of the Philippines and Australia.
The national anthem of Australia.
Ladies and gentlemen, I would also belatedly like to recognise the presence of the House Speaker, the Honourable Martin Romualdez. I'd now like to call on the Ambassador of Australia to the Philippines, Her Excellency HKU.
Thank you all for being with us today. This is really an amazing occasion, especially with such senior members of the Philippine government and of course all the distinguished guests and ladies and gentlemen. Thank you once again for the opportunity to honour those Australian veterans and the families of those who participated in the Leyte campaign. Can I ask you to provide them with, yes, applause. Thank you. Thank you. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. 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 Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Oi. Wonderful. Well done. Thank you so much for being here. I also recognize and thank the representatives from the Australian organisation, the US Small Ships Association, who actually have been the driving force behind this auspicious occasion. As I have already mentioned, for Australia, this anniversary speaks to the enduring friendship that Australia and the Philippines share in both good times and in bad. So we are really here gathered to unveil and dedicate a plaque to the service of Australian civilians during the liberation of the Philippines, specifically those who served in the Australian Merchant Navy and the US Army Small Ships Section, and also honouring the memory of Australian civilians interned in the Philippines. The Small Ship Section and largely civilian crew were part of the Southwest Pacific Command. In the beginning, the majority of the SWPA, as they're known, commands, land combat units were Australians, as were the majority of air units. Indeed, most of the war, the mainstay of SWPA Command's 7th Fleet was the Australian Squadron. SWPA Command initially had difficulty in getting aircraft and shipping to supply troops in the forward areas, which led to the establishment of the Small Ships Section under their transport branch. This section initially grew by commissioning whatever vessels they could get hands on and contracting Australian civilians to help operate them. As such, the Small Ship Section was very much a multinational unit supporting the multinational SWPA Command. Their efforts to resupply and transport troops provided critical capability to the war effort, and without doubt, the Australians serving in the Small Ship Section in the Philippines richly deserve the recognition they are belatedly receiving today. It is indeed a special occasion, and I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here today. So once again, thank you, the local government of Leyte, for making this possible. And thank you for the opportunity and honour you have provided here today to recognise and remember those Australians who fought alongside Filipino, US, and other friendly nations to liberate the Philippines. Thank you so much. And thank you, my Australians who have come all the way here for this very special occasion. It means the world to me. And I'm so glad and I'm so touched that we can share this together. Thank you. Maraming salamat po, and thank you again.
Ambassador, thank you. I would now like to call on the representative of the US Small Ships Section Association, Mr. Dan O'Brien.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the contribution of Australian civilians during the Leyte Gulf landings and subsequent liberation of the Philippines was well publicised during the campaign, and their service was considered invaluable. Often overlooked in contemporary World War II histories, merchant mariners faced great risks while providing essential life-saving services. During World War II, the Merchant Navy suffered fatalities of approximately 8.5%, a higher rate than any other branch of Commonwealth service. US Army's Small Ship Section was founded in Melbourne, Australia, early in 1942. They conducted a rapid and unorthodox acquisition of vessels, along with crew members from a variety of allied nations, including the Filipino crew of SS Mactan and more than 3,000 Australians. The Australian government approved the employment of any person ineligible for service with Commonwealth forces. Subsequently, US Army small ships employed retired men, aged up to 80 years, several of whom were veterans of the Boer War and World War I, serving alongside boys as young as 15 years, some of whom were graduates of the US Army Apprentice Seaman's School, which operated on Sydney Harbour. After only 4 weeks of training, these unlikely sailors were deployed to the waters of New Guinea, along with disabled members, including amputees. It is a fact that the very first US Army landings ever performed in the Pacific were conducted by Australian skippers on Australian fishing trawlers. The service of the small ship section proved decisive. During the Leyte landings, Australian merchant mariners served vessels controlled by various allied agencies, maintaining the supply of troops and equipment while evacuating the wounded. They achieved improbable logistical targets, which saved the lives of thousands of troops and civilians alike. We pay tribute to the service of Small Ship Section, men and boys who delivered. I recall with pride members known to me, veterans who served as teenagers, some whom survived bombings with horrific injuries, and in their twilight years maintained deep appreciation for the value of their service to the liberation, declaring that their useful service taught them personal independence. Among the senior Australian crew members was George Julian Snowy Howell, MMBC, an ageing Australian hero of World War I, who left his Australian Army desk job to volunteer for Small Ship Section. Snowy endured symptoms of PTSD throughout his service in the waters of the Philippines, yet persisted and endured. Volunteering alongside men as old as 80 years, teenagers and amputees, the members of Small Ship Section served with a dedicated sense of purpose and excelled, despite their disadvantaged status. Theirs was a story of cooperation and ingenuity. We pay tribute to the gallant merchant crews of ships like SS James Cook, which carried pylons from Australia to construct wharves here at Leyte, and HMAS Merkur, which delivered thousands of tonnes of food during the liberation. Remembering their sacrifice and honouring their service is very meaningful to the few surviving veterans, their descendants, and to the purposes of commemorative activity. Today, we acknowledge some of the bravest sons Australia has ever known, honouring the service and sacrifice of members of the Australian Defence Force and Australian civilians alike. We honour their service by embracing the values they held dear: courage, honour, sacrifice and endurance. These are as our personal obligations during both times of war and peace, lest we forget.
Thank you, Mr. Dan O'Brien. I'd now like to call on our final speaker, representing the descendants, Mr. Barry West. Thank you.
Excellency, honoured guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the surviving members and descendants of the Australian civilian veterans of the Leyte Gulf landings, I pay tribute to all of the Australians who paid the ultimate sacrifice and to those who returned. The plaque we're unveiling today lists those who paid the ultimate sacrifice. May their names live forevermore. The plaque also bears a tribute written by the late Frank Fitch, OAM, a veteran of the Merchant Navy and US Army Small Ship Section and past president of the US Army Small Ships Association. Frank's tribute is a sincere ode to his shipmates, from which we can gain some appreciation of the strong bonds forged during their service. I suggest that you all take time to read it on the plaque. Despite their valued service to the Allied effort, the Australian government failed to grant official recognition to our Australian Veterans Small Ships Section until 2010. Unfortunately, many of our veterans crossed the bar without ever enjoying a commemorative opportunity. 5 years ago, my father-in-law, veteran Leonard McLeod, participated in the 75th anniversary commemorations here at Leyte. Despite his advanced years, Len took that much belated commemorative journey, seeking and gaining a sense of closure, along with some recognition for his service. After achieving that recognition, Len, as president of our association, championed the fight for others whose service still to this day remains unrecognised. Our association will continue that fight to gain recognition in his honour. Although Len crossed the bar on the 26th of March, he inspired us to return to the Philippines and memorialise contributions of his comrades. Participation in commemorative activity actively benefits the health of veterans, descendants, family members, military units, and nations alike. The founding members of the US Army Small Ships Association faced a struggle to gain recognition for their service and could not have dreamt that their service would one day be memorialised here in the Philippines. Today is that day. On behalf of the veterans and their families, many of whom are still seeking a sense of closure, thank you for your participation today, and thank you for allowing us to be part of this very special memorial, thereby enabling our descendants to obtain some degree of closure. My father-in-law, Len McLeod, loved the Philippines and the Philippine people, and to know that this plaque was being unveiled today would make him extremely proud. So once again, on behalf of my father-in-law, his comrades and their descendants. Thank you.
Thank you, Barry, for your words of remembrance. I'd now like to call on the representatives of the Government of the Republic of the Philippines and Australia to unveil the plaque in honour of the small ships section. Ladies and gentlemen, the ceremony is nearly concluded. Just a few more segments to go. I'd like to now call on Sister Mary to say the ecumenical prayer.
Thank you. Magandang umaga po. As we stand here on sacred ground, we acknowledge all our heroes today, sung and unsung. We give thanks, especially at this corner, for the Australian Merchant Navy, and in particular for the Australian men and boys from the US Army small ships. May this memorial, this plaque, serve as a source of inspiration for us all and for the many generations who will pass by here and pause. We pray that we and all will be inspired to engage in radical acts of kindness, compassion, dignity, justice for the flourishing of all humanity. In this way, we can be assured that the legacy of the heroic Australian men and boys of the small ships will never be forgotten. Amen. Maraming salamat po.
Sister Mary, thank you very much. I'd now like to ask the Australian Defence Attaché to the Republic of the Philippines, Captain Emma MacDonald Kerr, to say the Ode of Remembrance. Ma'am.
Thank you. I'm going to read a short poem known as the Ode, followed by a short period of reflection and remembrance. They shall grow not old as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. Lest we forget.
Thank you, ma'am. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd now like to ask Secretary Teodoro, Ambassador Yu, Mr. Dan O'Brien and Mr. Barry West to move forward to lay the wreaths. Ladies and gentlemen, honoured guests, that concludes the ceremony for today. Thank you very much to the government of Leyte, the people of Leyte and Paulo, the Department of National Defence and the Armed Forces of the Philippines for the honour and the opportunity to honour the service of Australian civilians and the participation in the liberation of the Philippines. Thank you.
Okay, we will now proceed to watch the reenactment of the events that unfolded in the province of Leyte. Please follow the guides. This way, please. To your right, to your right.
Okay, so mga kasangkayan, so nakita na niyo na unveiling itong o sa marker gihapon na ardirian ano. So kanina nakita naton na Her Excellency He Kyung Yu or HKU ng Ambassador of Embassy of the Australia.
So today, right, the moment, proceeding
Proceeding na sila sa ano. Ito yung pinakaabangan nila. Ito yung pinakaabangan nyo yung reenactment. So biglayan lang kami ng ano lang natin yung idea or perspective yung
Road to Leyte man ang title.
Yeah, exactly. So yung perspective nito mga kaibigan, yung 50th celebration, yung gumanap niyan is yung mga American forces. Tapos ngayon naman, syempre yung reenactment sa 80th Leyte Gulf landings, yung reenactment naman, syempre Filipino naman. Filipino forces.
So tikad na ito area here, Governor Ikot Pitilla.
Together with the Speaker of the House, Congressman Martin Romualdez, at yung iba nating mga VIPs din. Ayan mga kaibigan, sa tabayanan nyo yan dahil sa di katagalan. Alam ko na isa din yun sa pinakaabangan yung reenactment natin sa ating 80th Leyte Gulf landings commemoration.
In-clear na ito na kay supposedly dito ang tahakuan, beach area. Pero kay may naman mga embankment, so naghimo na lakitahin, ang province naghimohin separate venue para...
Sa din nga side, so yung siyempre yung mga nakapunta din dito dati, so yung kabilang side, yan yung may ginawa na parang dagat. Diba? Ayun na. So mga kaibigan, umpisa na yung ating reenactment ng 80th Leyte Gulf Landings Commemoration. Yung Road to Leyte.
Kindly observe the markings around the performance area. Please do not cross this line during the show to ensure the safety of all and to avoid distracting the performance. Media personnel, including videographers and photographers, have designated areas. Crossing into the performance space is prohibited to maintain an unobstructed view for everyone. Thank you for your cooperation and understanding. This reenactment play may contain themes and depictions of violence and abuse related to the World War II Leyte Gulf landings. The performance aims to provide a historical perspective and foster understanding, but it may trigger strong emotional responses due to the sensitive nature of the subject matter. We acknowledge and respect the diverse experiences of all nations involved in this conflict. And we encourage anyone who may be affected by these themes to take care of their well-being during the performance. Support services will be available for those who may need them. And thank you for your understanding and joining us in this important exploration of history.
December 7, 1941, just about after dawn, the Japanese Pacific Fleet, led by General Masaharu Homa, attacked Pearl Harbor, the American naval base in Honolulu, Hawaii. This attack effectively brought the United States into a state of war with Japan and later with the Axis powers not only in the Pacific theater, but also in the European theater. The following day, 8 December, approximately 10 hours after the attack on Pearl Harbor, the Japanese conducted clandestine attacks on U.S. military installations in the Philippines, particularly Clark Airfield in Pampanga, Camp John Hay in Baguio, and Nichols Airfield in Manila.
For 4 months, Filipino and American soldiers made a gallant stand against the superior and battle-hardened Japanese forces, thus delaying their timeline of conquest in the Pacific. Ill-equipped and battle-weary defenders of Bataan eventually surrendered on April 9, 1942. And a month later, the fortress island of Corregidor fell. May 6, 1942, Lieutenant General Jonathan Wainwright capitulated to avoid more bloodshed upon instructions from General Douglas MacArthur, who made his vow with the words, "I shall return." With the capitulation and surrender of the United States Armed Forces in the Far East, many surviving American and Filipino soldiers of the infamous Death March resorted to guerrilla warfare, bringing the war against the Japanese invaders to the hinterlands and mountains in many parts of the Philippines. The most prominent guerrilla leaders were Major Alejandro Balderian of the Northeastern Leyte Command and Colonel Roberto Camleon, leader of the Southwestern Command. Both managed to gather the different factions into a united front, thereby avoiding internal confrontations and miscalculated tactical operations. With the valiant guerrilla fighters carrying the cudgels of fighting the Japanese invaders, they painstakingly sanitized a large portion of the island, thereby making it ready for its liberation. On 14 July 1944, the USS Nautilus, a Narwhal-class submarine, secretly arrived in Barrio San Roque in Abuyog, Leyte to deliver much-needed war materials for the Leyte guerrilla fighters of Colonel Roberto Camleon. It was a prelude to the subsequent landings in Leyte, which General Douglas MacArthur recommended to his superiors. On September 8, 1944, The plan to attack Leyte instead of the Sarangani Bay area in Mindanao was approved by the Joint Chiefs of Staff of the Allied Forces meeting in Quebec, Canada. 17 and 18 October 1944. Events now began to move rapidly in Leyte Gulf. An armada of Allied ships gathered ominously at the mouth of the Gulf, stretching from Suluan Island in Diwan, eastern Samar, to Dinagat Island in the Surigao Strait. From the aircraft carriers, planes started airdrop missions to mainland Leyte, particularly on the eastern flank of Leyte Island, admonishing the local populace to evacuate the coastal areas for the impending pre-invasion bombardment to clear the beaches. One such bombing sorties happened on the shores of Barrio Telegrafo, Tolosa, Leyte, on October 19, 1944. The bombardment threw the people, mostly evacuees, in a state of panic. But thanks to the presence of mind of Yayong Abelio, 33 years old and a member of the Boy Scouts of America, he was able to send signals by way of semaphore to the nearest ship, begging them to stop the bombardment as there were civilians in the area. Instead, he asked that he be allowed to board the ship and volunteered to direct the shelling as he knew the Japanese installations in nearby Katmon Hills. With his companions, Terong Hunya and Titeng Tiston, they scrambled on a small outrigger canoe while being fired upon by the Japanese artillery from nearby Mount Inapuson. They were hit by the gunfire, which overturned their outrigger, but were later picked up by a destroyer escort, USN 467. October 1944. A day has arrived. At 0600 hours, the battleships Pennsylvania, Tennessee, and California, assigned to the Southern Attack Force, opened fire on the landing beaches of Dulag. At 0700 hours, the battleships of the Northern Attack Force, Maryland, Mississippi, and West Virginia commenced firing on the landing beaches of Tacloban and Palo. Now, it was time for the main assault to land on the cleared beaches. At 1000 hours, the 1st Cavalry Division landed in Barrio San Jose in Tacloban, while the 24th Infantry Division landed in Palo. Later that day, the 1st Infantry Division advanced north to the Cataisan Peninsula to seize its primary objective, the capture of the Tacloban airfield. The 24th Infantry Division moved southwest and captured Hill 522 in Palo, which was defended by the elements of the Japanese 33rd Infantry Regiment. At the southern front, the 24th Corps, composed of the 7th and the 96th Infantry Division, pushed inland to Dulag. Within hours, they captured Hill 120, where they dramatically hoisted the American flag on a coconut tree at the foot of the hill, the first American flag to be proudly displayed after the infamous surrender in Corregidor. Aided by the Australian contingent of 3,500 sailors, 236 soldiers, and 20 airmen, the Allied forces pushed towards their targets and swiftly captured key installations. Australia provided half the major firepower for the close support group as well, and the critical inter-service communications, and to secure the back door to the landing beaches. Beach, the sound of gunfire and explosives have not stopped, and sporadic bursts of machine gun fires could be heard, even from the USS Nashville, anchored offshore where the Supreme Commander of the USAFE, General Douglas MacArthur, was watching from the bridge. With corncob pipe in mouth, he also watched the first assault waves, as scores of LSTs land on Red Beach. Satisfied with what he saw, he prepared to disembark. Just before 1400 hours, he changed into a fresh set of uniform, wore his sunglasses, and the familiar gold-braided hat. He then gave the order to head for the shore. He descended a ladder into a waiting landing barge already filled with his staff officers and newspaper men. Also in that barge was President Sergio Osmeña, who was just as eager as the general to put his feet once again on Philippine soil. To the exiled president, it was a symbolic act, a sign of fresh resolve to re-establish the Philippine government as soon as possible. Moments later, the barge grounded to a halt about 40 yards from the shore. The ramp went down to a foot of water. As the cameras reared to record the momentous scene, the general, along with President Sergio Osmeña, General Carlos P. Romulo, General Richard Sutherland, and key staff, splashed impressively on the shores of Red Beach. proceeded to inspect the damages wrought by the bombardment and earlier bombings, then quickly went to a microphone arranged by signalmen. In a voice deep with emotions, his hands trembling perceptibly, General Douglas MacArthur, commander of the U.S. Armed Forces in the Far East, began to speak.
This is the voice of freedom, General MacArthur speaking. People of the Philippines, I have returned. By the grace of Almighty God, our forces stand again on Philippine soil, soil consecrated in the blood of our two people. We have come dedicated and committed to the task of destroying every vestige of enemy control over your daily lives and of restoring upon a foundation of indestructible strength the liberties of your people. At my side is your president, Sergio Osmeña, worthy successor of that great patriot, Manuel Quezon, with members of his cabinet. The seat of your government is now, therefore, firmly re-established on Philippine soil.
On 23 October 1944, just 3 days after the successful landings at Leyte Gulf, the Allied forces triumphantly entered Tacloban, the provincial capital, with the new president Sergio Osmeña by his side, his cabinet, the officers and men of the invasion, and hundreds of cheering townspeople shouting, "Victory, Joe!" He proudly announced the full reestablishment of the Commonwealth government of free Philippines at the foot of the iconic terrace of the Leyte provincial capital.
Of the tremendous responsibility that is mine as I assume the presidency of the Philippines. I pledge all that is in me to serve the best interests of the Filipino people. The freedom of the Filipino people is my goal, and that the permanence of that independence once achieved, I will strive to secure.
Ladies and gentlemen, let this day be a day of remembrance to honor the memory of the brave soldier, men and women who sacrificed their lives for their respective countries. Friend and fellow so alike. They have come and gone and faded away. But their memory lives on these beaches of Leyte Gulf, on the valleys, plains, ridges, and canyons of Leyte. We salute them for inspiring us and teaching us real love of country, thereby epitomizing a line in our national anthem, ang mamatay ng dahil sa'yo. Always, in the annals of our history, adversity has given us courage. Turmoil has given us hope. Thank you for inspiring in us the fervor of our ancestors. As we pass on this torch of heroism to the younger generations, we exhort them to build a better world tomorrow, today. Once the world has known.
recaps our reenactment of
Yeah.
the 80th Leyte Gulf Landings anniversary. Okay.
Indeed, that was wonderful and memorable talaga na